If you haven't got a small note from Jakob, please raise your hand and you will get one. You can just... Okay, very welcome. My name is Julia Hansson and I work for Biofuel, Swedish Environmental Research Institute. I'm situated here in Göteborg, so I'm at home. I want to welcome you on behalf of the main organizer of this workshop that we've called Biofuel Strategy for the Coming Decade. And the main organizer is Nordic Energy Research. They couldn't be here themselves, but for those of you who haven't heard of them before, they are a platform for cooperative energy research and policy development under the Nordic Council Ministers. So they are an independent government body then between different Nordic countries. And their main task is to fund research and development, aiming them, of course, for the sustainable future. But they also contribute to policy making and makes a lot of material linked to policy making, some reports, etc. So you might have seen some of them. And the reason why I'm standing here is that I have been funded, or me and other colleagues have been funded in one of their last research or big research projects. They have had 3 Nordic flagship projects running for the last 4 years. It's one about transport, one about bio-CCS, that is biomass-based carbon capture and storage, and one about flexibility in the electricity and heat system. But those projects are finalizing. 2 of them have been finalized now. Shift finalized last week, and the project that I've been project leader of. So we have a summary report that we just put on our webpage, and I added the web address there. And the other project, Flex4S, has also ended, but Bio-CCS project is running until next summer, ending with a big conference on that. And we have heard the importance of all these areas, actually, during this conference. And why are we then gathered linked to bioenergy, and why have it's been a big thing for Nordic Energy Research? Well, in 2016, they published, or they funded a project called Nordic Energy Technology Perspectives, where they made scenarios for the future, aiming for low carbon emissions. And then they realized that, of course, one of the main energy carriers of the future in the Nordic region is, of course, biomass. So then there is a discussion on how can we support this and get this happening. So the purpose today, you will be very active, but the purpose, of course, we've been here for a couple of days or 2 days listening to presentations and having the opportunity to pose a few questions, but here you have the possibility to reflect on what you've heard and generally on the potential for sustainable biomass, and for us then in particular for the Nordic sector, both for transport but also for heating and also electricity. And also we want you to kind of allow and give time for discussion on how to move forward and how to address some of the key issues. And we had the opportunity to kind of list some of our key issues earlier, but we will also have some speakers that will introduce some key issues to us here. And also the aim is also to provide input to policymakers, because the actual reason is that the Nordic Council has asked the Nordic Energy Research to provide a report on the potential for sustainable Nordic use of biomass for energy. So the input from this workshop, but also from 3 other seminars that they've had, breakfast seminars that will be presented in a report in February 2020. So that was all from me. So now I will leave the word for Jakob, who will continue introducing this day.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, that was loud. But just to wake you up a bit. My name is Jakob Lagercrantz. I'm not from the research community. I'm a campaigner. I used to work for Greenpeace for 11 years. I'm actually from one of the NGOs originally. I have then founded a couple of different NGOs, and I'm now the founder and CEO of the 2030 Secretariat, focusing on the decarbonization of the Swedish transport sector. So that is an industry-funded NGO focusing on one clear target. And my biggest, toughest discussions I have with transport and environment in Brussels. It's not with politicians in the Nordic countries or in the UK. It's actually when I meet my former colleagues. I like discussions. I miss having them here because you're all aligned and you, from what I hear, agree in many ways. What we're going to do, we are going to soon listen to 4 experts, 2 from industry, 2 from research, putting to you 4 questions. We will divide you into different groups, and each group will, for half an hour, think about, discuss one of the questions. They will ponder on the other ones, but really discuss one of the questions, because they will come back on stage and explain what the group thought about it. So 4 groups, each you go away somewhere close by. You talk about these issues, but you will get one question that is highlighted on the paper I give you, and you select one person who will come on stage and actually talk about it. People, that's the thing people hate the most in the world, being on stage. But take the challenge. Don't stand in the back behind something. Always step forward and talk to people, open yourself up. That person only speaks for 2 to 3 minutes, and then the other groups, if they want, can have an impact. And then in the end, we'll have the expert panel that will actually comment on what you said and what they take with them. This is one of the fundamentals for a policy brief. We are filming this, and it will be edited and actually cut into a nice format afterwards. If somebody doesn't like to be on the film, we have a paper bag to put over your head. We have them somewhere over here. Just let me know in that case. When you do a workshop, the one question that comes to mind is, why should I take part in a workshop? Why should I be here and spend my valuable time in actually discussing an issue somebody else put to me? Well, you can have an impact. You can have an impact through me, because I will listen to the answers and I will put them forward to politicians in the Nordic countries, to ministers. I'm going to France next week. The experts in their companies or research entities will bring the impact from what you're saying with them. And we have said that even though will be reported in a brief from NER later on, we will also follow up a year from now. I will make sure that we follow up what has happened. We will stay in contact somehow and follow up what has happened. If you want, we'll keep you updated. I just want to finish by saying that of all the hotspots in the world right now, we have a couple of hotspots on biofuels in the world. Brazil with Renovabio. China is going E10 in just 3 years. And they're really getting interesting. India is starting with biofuels, another big country. And then we have the Nordics, and with the UK, as we've heard over these few days. So we are one of the hotspots. Together, we are really strong. We have friends we need to convince. Biofuels is one of the toughest areas to work on, because there's so much misalignment, and we have so many different views on something as simple on what role a tree plays in CO2 capture. Should they be left standing, or should they be cut down and used sustainably in forestry? That's a huge discussion. And you have experts on each side. So this is something we need to discuss. We need to talk and talk and talk, and we need to meet the other side. And I think that is really, really, really important. Now let's start moving on to you. You are the experts. Patrick, Pitkänen, we start with you from St1. And this is the question that you want the groups to answer. Yes. Explain a little bit what you mean by it.
Thank you, Jakob. And happy to be coaching this team effort. And I'm seriously looking forward to have something to carry on and take away and follow up as well. I would like to be in a steering group or whatever is the result of this discussion. So my question or introduction to the question is something I referred yesterday already, that in the industry, what I have seen, there is a lot of hiding and secrets, and everybody's thinking that I have a golden egg here, and I want to share it. I try to keep it as a mind, though, so if it's successful, I will be only winner, and on the other hand, if I can somehow block others to be successful, I will be the winner. But that is not the case in this difficult world of biofuels. this is actually the case vice versa. Everybody must be successful. There's no silver bullet. And if we don't have success stories, the whole industry will collapse because the mandates will collapse, the public opinion will collapse, and it would be the disaster. So let's focus on the cooperation. There was discussion, is academia serving the industry as good as they want or can, and that's a good question. Of course, the industry must take also their responsibility to feed in the ideas and questions and academic problems. But my question is how we could create a open platform where industry and academia can participate and really genuinely share the knowledge, not just bits of information, but the knowledge that drives the industry forward.
Very interesting. Actually, I'll stand over here so I don't stand in the dark. You just invested 1 billion, or decided to invest 1 billion in a biofuel plant in Gothenburg.
Which currency?
Swedish crowns, since we're here,
Okay.
not euros. So you're a good guy to get to know for researchers and doing projects where you actually want to implement things. Thanks a lot. A really interesting question, and this goes in any field in society. We all need to share knowledge more so we can develop faster.
Yeah, and to that investment, I was part of the discussions, and there was quite many fish moves in the directors speaking, and I was thinking what they are doing. They are tweaking patents, how to go round, and those patents are not made by the industry for the money-making purpose. They are blocking purpose. So we were fishing there.
So they were made from the old petroleum industry, the Seven Sisters, to stop the biofuel industry from developing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, something like that.
Very good. Thank you very much, Patrick.
Thank you.
And all the questions will be on a paper for you later on. Anne-Sophie, do you say Anne or Anne-Sophie?
Either one works.
Either one works.
Yeah.
The shipping industry, I mean, 95% of all goods go on ship because we have so much water. You have a tremendous need for biofuels.
Yes, we do.
If you move on one more, then your question comes up.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Yes, so historically, some major technology shifts have resulted in very serious adverse effects. How can we best streamline the development and commercialization of carbon-neutral and carbon-free energy solutions, while at the same time ensuring that the newly implemented solutions do not cause major climate, environmental, health problems of their own? So, I'm very, very happy to be here and having the chance to ask all of you clever people a question. And I pondered over this for some time. Long story short, if you were here this morning and saw my presentation, you know that we're looking very, very broadly into a number of different solutions. And we need to prioritize and to get it right in a rather short time. And how to prioritize a portfolio of such different technologies is something that I would like your input on. I posed the question the way I did, because when you look historically, there's been a number of different technology transitions. Sometimes they end up very well, and everybody's happy, and the world moves forward. Other times, new problems are created. I think a good example of this is the refrigerants industry. So in the early part of the 20th century, we were using sulfur dioxide, ammonia, other things that were hazardous to health. They were explosive. They caused lots and lots of problems and even deaths in people's homes, in industry where they were used, and so on. And this brilliant chemist called Thomas Mitterli figured out, well, if we tweak the CFC reaction in this specific way, then we can reach industrial production and scale, and that was fantastic. And he had this spectacular press event where he invited lots and lots of journalists, and with him he brought a big bag of CFC gas that he then inhaled into his lungs. And then he blew out a candle, a lit candle. And this, of course, proved to the world that, fantastic, now we have refrigerant gases that we can use. They're not explosive. They'll put out a lit candle, and you can breathe them. They're so safe, it's never going to be a problem. And the world happily moved on for another 40 years until one day we woke up and there was a big hole in the ozone layer. So, oops. That's something they didn't test for. With the parameters that they were testing for, with the things that they were aware of, this checked all the boxes. But there was something else. And luckily the world got together, figured out how to phase out CFC gases, and now the ozone layer is doing much, much better. Ideally, I don't want to see anything like that happen with any of the solutions that I'm working at. So if you have good ideas on how to really make not just well to wake, as we call it in the shipping industry, but even beyond that, how we ensure that we have the right solutions so we don't create new detrimental problems that might wipe out all life on Earth as we know it. That would be great.
Perfect. And imagine the purchasing power from Mærsk if you guys today come up with a good solution, you take it on, and tomorrow you start implementing that in the whole of the largest shipping company in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, so this small biofuel test we did earlier this year from Rotterdam to Shanghai and back, those 20% that were FAME, that's 600 tons. So we need quite a lot of whatever it is that we're going to be sailing on. Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, Kenneth.
Yes.
Your question will come up now.
So this is also a little bit in line with the presentation I gave, that if we just keep on allowing for import to the Nordic countries, will we then come up with the right solutions? Because when we are doing modeling of energy systems, the Nordic system, we often have this option on saying we do not allow for biomass import, or we do. And we see, of course, the system and solution changes a lot. But in the real world, that's a lot more difficult, because how can you avoid import of biomass to the Nordic countries? Can we put a ban on it? Can we do anything, criteria about sustainability, or forced mix of fuels or something? Because if we don't do, we risk ending up with solutions which are not sustainable and can't be copied to the rest of the world. Because we can't solve everything with biofuels. There's simply not enough biomass. We need electric fuels also, and other solutions. So, and what we see right now in Denmark, for instance, is that the way we are getting rid of coal in the power plants is by importing wood pellets, which looks good on the account of CO2 emissions in Denmark, but for the world it's really not a brilliant idea. What happens is when we buy wood pellets in Baltic countries, we push up the price, and they can't afford buying wood pellets for industry and households in Baltic countries, and then they import Russian coal and use that instead. So we're really pushing around problems, and so if we can't stick within the resource we have in the Nordic countries and find a solution there, it can't be copied to the rest of the world, because we have lots of biomass potential in the Nordic countries. So, good ideas to find out how can we control this so we don't end up in war with other countries, but still can push the development, research, and the industries in a direction that we can see can be sustainable for the future.
Very good, Kenneth. And do you agree with my proposition that the Nordic countries with the UK are one of the hotspots in the world? I mean, you have done a presentation earlier today on all the Nordic countries and what's happening here, and we have great possibilities, but there are challenges.
Yes, definitely. Also, have you seen in this workshop or this conference here that we have the industries, we have the researchers, we have the resources, so it's simply to plan it in the right way and get started again.
Okay, well, we're going to get started in a few minutes. But first, Mirjam, all the way from the UK.
All the way from the UK.
Yes.
It's not that far. Still
It's
in
not.
the European Union, hey! Okay, I'm Mirjam Röder from the Supergen Bioenergy Hub. And I'm actually a sociologist. So if anyone wants to leave the room now, don't. My question is, how can bioenergy, from a policy, industry, and research perspective, make a meaningful contribution to the recent calls for net zero emissions by 2050 and maximize global sustainability benefits beyond technology and support climate justice? We had a lot of talks about technologies, and I'm getting really kind of like nervous because Anna keeps us calling clever people. It's just kind of like maybe very curious people. I don't know if we're so clever. There's a lot of technologies out there, and we have a lot of ideas, and we do a lot of modeling, and on paper, a lot of things look great, and we try to apply them in reality, and it might work, and then we want to scale them up, and it doesn't work anymore. And then we want to make a meaningful contribution, and then policy changes or investment changes, and then everything's mixed up again, and we're back to the start, kind of. It's not quite like that. I'm putting it a bit extreme to get you thinking about it. And we have a really strong focus in policy, and the main policy drivers are climate change for a good reason. But climate change, as we all know, is caused by actually a fairly small number of people making a really big global impact. And we come up with new technologies, new ideas to tackle climate change. And we heard a lot about cost and that things are expensive and biofuels are not. Some people say they are competitive in some context, others say they're still too expensive. And we want to renew the energy sector, but we forget about the people who actually struggle to afford energy or have access to energy at all. And if we have renewable energy, which is actually more expensive or more challenging or less available, then we might exclude vulnerable groups wherever, not just in the Nordic countries, not just in the UK, they are there as well, but all over the globe. And then we start sourcing from other places in international supply chains and might forget about people. So my question, even though I talk about net zero, because net zero is policy. It's not a technical solution, it is about policy. It's like the climate change targets are policy. So we really need to see what is the context behind it and who is it made for? And who benefits and who doesn't benefit? If we come up with smart technology, really, who are the main beneficiaries of it? And who are the winners, who are the losers? And what we really want, we want to maximize the benefits and minimize the negative impacts. And that might mean we might not have the best and most optimal solution, but we might have the fairest solution.
Very good, very good. We need more sociologists in this field because it's people. The human factor, people usually say, it's people that need to change. That's the biggest challenge. Okay, some of you, not all, got a colored piece of paper. So I want the green people, that sounds bad, the red people, green people. The green group, stand over here.
It's like
The red group, stand over here. The
That's
white
very
one,
political, right? Isn't
yes,
it?
I know. The white one over there in the back. And the yellow one over there in the back. And I know a lot of you don't have papers. And these questions that you're going to answer, this is like a research task, all of them. They are complex, but you have half an hour to respond. So I would like the 4 of you in the back there to go to the white group over there. The 2 of you, you can add on to this group. Oh, you need to do something. Actually, I think we have quite a few people. The rest of you sitting, just come to me in the front, and I'll create a new group from you. So you're going to have half an hour. You can go away. Make sure that everybody speaks. Stop anybody from speaking too much. You don't have time for one person speaking a lot. Try all to speak. Select among you one person who comes on stage. Good luck with that. That's important. And be concrete. They have really daunting questions here, but be concrete. I want the 1, 2, 3, the best recommendations on each question. You got a couple of minutes up here on stage, not much. And then we'll have a short discussion, then we move on. Quickly, we don't have time because the climate is changing. Okay, I'm going to give it you, and then find a place.